Yeah, well, I have many updates, but there is one update related to this presentation that maybe we should start with, given that this is about letters of hope. So when I taped this, which was a week ago, a little bit more than a week ago, we were still in the process of sending and preparing the materials in Beirut. And everything in Lebanon is taking forever. But since Monday this week, people have been receiving the catalog and the postcards all over the world. So I've been getting really nice images from Australia and Japan and Beirut, obviously, and Italy and the US, and all over the world of people receiving the packages and being very encouraged by receiving this physical object from Beirut. So for people who don't know what this project is about, this is a spoiler alert. So I spoiled it already.
know a little bit.
Yeah. So I hope, and it's quite funny as well that in the recording I messed up a little bit. So I'm going to correct things ahead of it. So and the reason why I'm not presenting live and I am actually waiting for the video to load rather than present live is because this is an extremely personal project for me and horrific. And you will hear it from my voice. I don't sound like this in the video. You can tell that it was horrible to have to talk about it. And we Lebanese are very good at making jokes and going into denial and toughening things out. But if you have to sit and discuss, obviously it's a very difficult time for the country. So I am less cheerful in the video because of the nature of the topic. And that's why I don't want to speak it again, because it's horrific enough having to do it once. And I was just telling Simon, I am never speaking this again. So this will be the only time, maybe to my therapist, but that's it. So yeah, so it's really good that people are receiving these. I messed up the name of the animator in the presentation because I was so nervous. So it's Mohammed Al-Khouli, one of the animators. It's not the other Mohammed that I mentioned. The designer who helped me do the visualizations is Rana, not Rania. and I never mentioned that the project is called Li Beirut. and it is. I just mentioned Letters of Hope once, I think. But yeah, I think when we are all nervous, and I think it's happened to many people, that when you're nervous, you're not really able to, have all your brains work. So that's a bit of, spoilers for what you're going to see. And then also there's a little bit of another update. Another reason why my brains are also not working is because I'm launching my first library collection on Tuesday. So November 3, to coincide with the US elections, because 2 of the 7 families are protest typefaces. And it's not the first time I've protested Trump. I will continue to do this as long as he is politically active. And yeah, I think there's a lot that we can talk about for that. But I will be talking about this on Tuesday. So yeah. Today we focus on Beirut and what we want to do for that. Okay. Yeah, Simon, please.
Let's see, we have a comment from the ready to launch the video, they're saying. Okay, so, okay. Let's roll the video.
Hello everyone, my name is Nadine Chahine and I come from Beirut. I would like to thank ATypI and especially Tammy for the invitation to speak to you today. As you probably know by now, on August 4 this past summer, a terrible explosion ripped through Beirut. More than 300,000 people were homeless as a result of the destruction, and more than 190 people lost their lives. In times like these, we are moved to action that would be almost incomprehensible outside of that context. To place this project in its context then, the following slides show videos that I received via WhatsApp minutes after the explosion. If you prefer not to look, turn away for a minute and join us after for when we talk about the more hopeful aspects of this project.
I'm good. What is that? Yeah.
In the days that followed the explosion, many of us were still trying to comprehend what had happened. Within the devastation, we needed hope. The need to act was very strong, and for me personally, being far away from home, I felt that I needed to do more than just donate to the fundraising campaigns that had already started. We had a precedent in our type community that when disasters strike, the community comes together and curates a typeface that would fundraise for the rescue operations. I wanted to follow that tradition, but the need to act immediately was stronger than my patience to work within established channels. I started emailing friends within the community and asking them to draw just one letter. So many immediately replied with a yes. The project started to pick up steam, and I announced online a call to action. Immediately started getting results from that too. 1 week after the explosion, I was already sorting through entries and putting the font together. The brief was to draw a decorative letter in a square design, either an isolated Arabic character or a Latin capital. The decision to request a decorative letter was not accidental. Decorative work takes time, and there is no gift more precious than time. Furthermore, bringing together tens of designers for a common typeface that would work well as a typeface is practically impossible, because a typeface needs to have internal harmony. But what if there is harmony in Discord? If every glyph is different, and by virtue of sharing the same size and contrasting pattern of black and white, harmony could emerge. The animations we are seeing now were done by Mohammad Al-Ganzouri, Rohit Sharma, and Irina Koryagina, for whom I am very, very thankful. These were really instrumental in helping us promote the project and get the fundraising going. So this was more than just a fundraising typeface though. There needed to be a physical aspect of this project. And so other than the typeface, I decided to design a catalog that would show the entire typeface and to have an opportunity to showcase the amazing designs that so many had contributed. We had 161 designers in total, more than 300 glyphs. The designs were gorgeous, a testament really to the quality of design that we have today. The spreads were unbelievably fun also to design, which was a bit paradoxical because the project started from such a horrible place and ended somewhere so beautiful. And in that, there was a lot of therapy for me as well in focusing on this rather than the despair, basically. There were also posters. These have not been printed yet, but hopefully will be at some point. There were also a set of postcards. So we have 18 postcards. On the back of them, we have printed in Beirut, because it was so important that they would be printed in Beirut and sent from Beirut to the rest of the world. That was the governing logic of the project, that this is not just something that exists in the virtual space. We needed physical objects and a sign that life continues to go on in Beirut. And this was testament to that. The printing went really well. They worked so well as a project. The joy of looking at them being printed and coming together, and we're now shipping them, and at some point people will get them, and yeah, it will be, I think, a beautiful reminder of how the community can come together to support those in need, and this continues the traditions we had seen before, but it's also a step to the future in these very difficult times for so many of us. The designs I absolutely love. So many contrasting patterns, but somehow they come together. And there is a message in that diversity, that we can coexist without having to be like one another. We can have Latin and Arabic in the same typeface. We can have so different patterns yet working together, because the diversity is the point of it, that they can be. And once everything is different, no one is the same. And you know, there are lots of things we can take away from that, not just on a design level, but also on a social and political level as well, especially given the times that we are going through. And so when I got these videos from Beirut, it's just absolutely gratifying to be able to see the project come to life and to know that people will hold them and will have them and they will travel the world and spread this message far and far across. And you know, like when I made the announcement, I asked people to send me the designers basically to send me their designs, but also if they had any messages that they wanted to convey, and many people did. So I'm just going to read them as I go through. What you're seeing here are now the inside pages of the catalog. This is my one way of making sure that all the glyphs are shown, and so now I will start reading. So the first message I got was from Mike Duggan. Mike is an old friend. 2Gs for good from Ireland, sending with love in support and solidarity with our friends in Beirut. From Kaya Slojewska, my heart goes out to all the families harmed by this horrific tragedy in Beirut. My thoughts are with you in these difficult times. From Nijad Abdel Samad, Beirut delivered the script to the world via its port. It is time to pay tribute back to Beirut and its port with type, so it will continue to be a cultural hub. Pascal Zovi, Elbia, Beirut. Quentin Schmerba, my thoughts and heart are with Beirut and the whole Lebanese people. Please support this initiative. Hendrik Birkvik, from Copenhagen, Denmark, we are sending love and hope for a quick recovery. Haytham Al-Mayman, my heart goes to all the victims and those who are affected by this tragedy. I hope what we do here helps, even if just a little, to create awareness and benefit those in need. Lebanon was and still is a cultural inspiration for all of us in the Arab world. Jeff Callum, the explosion and loss of life in Beirut is heartbreaking. My deepest sympathy to those affected by this disaster. Love and hugs to my friends in Beirut and their family and friends. Harim Farrouh, please don't lose hope. We see you, the world sees you, and we will do whatever we can to help. Tom Grace, your shock, your pain, your loss, your anger, nothing can wipe them away. But through your strength, may they help you rebuild and find the answers you seek. Ruggero Galdesi, I designed the letter H for hope, the hope that Beirut will grow back from this terrible disaster and rebuild the city as the people of Beirut want. Rutherford Craze, my thoughts are with Beirut and everyone affected by the recent events. If making letters can help in even the smallest way, I am grateful for the opportunity. Lara Kaptan, to my beloved people of Lebanon, may the change you've been fighting and suffering for finally come. Jordan Bell, to the beautiful and resilient city of Beirut, may you all continue to heal, sending lots of love from Brooklyn. From Ferran and Pilar, from Letter Juice. One of the best memories I have, and I will never forget, is that one summer I spent in Beirut some years ago. From there, I remember the amazing welcoming people that opened the doors of their houses to invite us to dinner parties. Also, how much I enjoyed walking on those busy streets full of life, totally distracted with all the great street art you find at every corner in every neighborhood. Of course, how can we forget the delicious food we never had enough of, or the interesting discussions in the coffee bars and museums. I love all the culture surrounding this fantastic city that is Beirut. From Letter Juice, we want to send a message of hope to all these people who don't deserve what has happened to them. We wish the best to those that have lost their relatives, their friends, or their houses. We want them to have their life back because after all, they are the heart of this city, the ones that make it shine. And for this reason, the ones we don't want to forget. What we are seeing here, by the way, are the names of all the designers who have contributed. And again, thank you so much. A message from Torben Willemsen. All the best wishes, love and hope for recovery of the city and the Lebanese people. From Alja Herla. I have visited Beirut exactly 1 year ago. The time I spent there was challenging and amazing at the same time. Feeling gratefulness to the city and people living there, I would like to contribute a humble thing, a drawing of a letter. From Rana Al-Goheri, my heart goes out to our Lebanese siblings in these difficult times. Letters can speak volumes, and our letters are expressing loudly. They're calling for help, for justice, and for amends. Lots of love to Lebanon from Egypt. Salim Allat, let's put aside our differences and stand together united against the corruption that thrives on dividing us. We are all Lebanese. We are all brothers and sisters, and we are all a family. From Marie Boulanger, the decorative grid behind the letters is loosely reminiscent of Msharabiya patterns, but drawn with hearts and sides. While feeling absolute despair looking at the heart-wrenching footage of Beirut, all I could think of was that we all still have love to give. I read about the extraordinary displays of solidarity by Lebanese people when the government abandoned them, of people rescuing and sheltering each other. I thought of my Lebanese friends, of their families and friends. Love absolutely won't be enough for them to recover, but at least it's still here. From Abdul Muhammad from Egypt, he wrote in Egyptian accent, so I'm going to attempt in Egyptian. Those who speak Arabic, forgive me for maybe making a mess of that accent, but I try. ما عنديش كلمة واضحة توصف أول مرة شفت فيها الفيديو وكأنه مكتوب من 10 دقايق وأنا للحظة بفكر هل دي نهاية العالم. بس للأسف إن ده أصعب، لأن لو نهاية العالم كانت الناس مش هتبقى خايفة على بيتهم اللي وقع أو جيرانهم وأصحابهم اللي مش عارفين هم فين. ما حدش فاهم إيه اللي بيحصل. حياتهم اللي كانوا خايفين عليها خلال دقايق بين حريق وانفجار بسبب إهمال ضاعت أو حتى اتدمرت، واللي كمل حياته ونجي بقى مضطر يرجع يواجه مشاكله اليومية اللي بقت أصعب مع خوف كل يوم إن ده يتكرر. فربنا يرحم الأموات والأحياء. نيفا صديق. I visited Beirut and Lebanon 2 years ago, and it immediately became a place very close to my heart. Primarily, I believe because of its people. The tragedy that struck Beirut is something no one deserves. To all affected by it in any way, I wish courage, strength, and quick recovery. From Amélie Bonnet. I wish Beirut will rebirth from its pieces. All my thoughts go to Beirut and its people. From Nouf Rashid. Hoping and praying for Beirut for stability and peace. From Razan Bassem. The Lebanese people will rebuild your Beirut, our Beirut, strong again. From Mirko Velimirovic. What happened is so horrendous. I hope that this work in some way can help people rebuild. Sending love from New York. From Yolmar Campos. The initiative is very nice, and with it I remember and send my condolences and support for the recent events to all the people of Lebanon and to my Lebanese friends who are still in Venezuela. Erin McLaughlin, sharing grief with the people of Beirut and the Lebanese around the world. I'm dedicating this vow to my city, Lorraine. June Shin. My heart breaks for those affected by the Beirut explosion. I drew a plant-themed letter, as plants are often symbols of life and of hope. And finally, there's a poem by Greta Khoury. I wish I could write 1 million letters of love to Beirut. I wish they would read our endless letters for Beirut. Letters which speak of the sea and the people of the coast, those people who make Beirut. What would our letters say that has been yet untold? What can our letters say that has been yet unheard? We need collective action, the kind that keeps people included, valued, the kind that keeps everyone inspired, ignited. United we must be for a life beyond nations. Inspired we must remain for a humanity beyond fractions. Dear Beirut, my letters for you are a silent song. And so here it is, all of the typeface, more than 300 glyphs, 161 designers, and just beautiful in all its diversity, in all of its shapes, in all of its colors even. You know, so many people help with this. I don't even know where to begin. I actually have it on the website because I cannot keep track. So many people have been generous with supporting this initiative, whether it's through the building of it, thank you Eric, through the animations, I've already said, through the designers themselves, to Rania who helped me with the visualizations, the iMagazine who supported so much and gave us free advertising. So many people helped with this. Jean-Francois, oh my God, did most of the work of getting people to know about the call to action, Neil as well, and so many people. And honestly, there is no better testimony for the kind of people that we have in our community than the solidarity shown through this project. And we did this in less than 2 weeks. We launched the fundraiser at exactly 2 weeks after the explosion, to the minute even, almost. So all of this typeface, the design, putting everything together, it took every waking moment I had, but you know, when people were still cleaning the glass from the streets, for me, it was a luxury that I could just sit and do type design. And these are very small ways in which we can help, but we raised more than 23,000 euros. The money will go to charities helping in Lebanon, cash benefits for people in need, you know, support for children, for people who have lost their homes. So much work that still needs to be done. And this is not the end of it. And so many people said that they really love this initiative, they really love this project, and please don't stop. And so I thought that, yeah, we need to have this constant reminder of the physicality of the objects that we love, and to have them with us when we are spread so far away and in isolation in this horrible pandemic we're in. So I thought about merchandising, and I asked some of the designers their permission to use the designs that they had submitted on merchandising. And for those who said yes, and I've only asked a few so far because I can't really manage everything because it took so much time, all of it. But yeah, these are print on demand. You can have, the link is on my website. You can see it. And we have cushions now. We even have, you know, shower curtains that are tote bags, notebooks, so many other things that we can do. But I just want to end with this animation of the letters that Peter van Blokland submitted. And basically, it illustrates really well the fact that we can only rebuild when we come together. And whether it is the community coming together, or the people of Beirut and Lebanon coming together, and the international community supporting us, this all happens through collective effort and all of us coming together. So thank you again a million times. And yeah, if there are any questions, I guess when we get to the live action part, I'm happy to answer your questions. Thank you all. So thank you again a million times. And yeah, if there are any questions, I guess when we get to the live action part, I'm happy to answer your questions. Thank you all.
Thank you, Nadine. That was amazing.
I took this off. I couldn't hear it again.
Okay. No, yeah. I was listening, and it came across really well. And yeah.
Thank you.
And some of the animation, I was watching the video. That's it's all good. So let's see. Reading the comments. Lots of. Yeah, it's such an emotional project. Great presentation. Thank you very much. Yeah. Do we have any questions for Nadine?
I also have a few topics I want to throw into.
Yeah, let's go ahead. No question.
While people think of potential questions to ask, I would like that we perhaps discuss design activism, given the highly polarized times we're going through and the nature of the challenges we're going through every day. Literally every day with a pandemic, every day is a challenge. But also, and then the other question is design good in and of itself? I think these are very interesting topics to discuss. So while we wait for people to, Lawrence got his 2 days ago. Excellent, good. While we're waiting for questions to come in, maybe we just start with the question, is design good? Yeah. And I remember sitting in a presentation in London back at the time when we could all sit in one room. It was one of the Type Tuesdays, I think, and definitely St. Bride's. And there was a question, will design, like as part of a presentation, will design save the world? And the designer said, like, he had this big, massive no as a slide. I was like, oh, thank God someone is realistic finally. And then he switched and he's like, yes, and he was kidding, and I was like, oh no, no, you missed it, you missed the chance. And I think it's really important that we separate between the power that design has and the ability to exercise that power. So I think it's been proven over and over and over, and we don't need to go into that design has a lot of power, that design can communicate strong ideas, that it can facilitate communication and messaging and drive home important ideas that you're trying to bring across. We all know this.
But if we look at the history of design, has design always been on the side of, you know, the moral arc of good? No. And there are some quite obvious examples. It's always terrible when you bring up the Nazis because they shut down any conversation. But in reality, like if you look at Nazi propaganda, it's gorgeous design for the most horrible and horrific of ideologies. But it shuts down the argument too quickly. But the point is that design is able to communicate ideas, whatever the ideas are. So in international relations, we use the term normative, which means that it is inherently good, you know, so that so there is no normative value to design. Design, the good that is in design is the good that we put in it. It's not inherently good. Design is something that can be good and can also be very evil, even if it is a little bit simplistic to talk about good and evil. But yes, to go back to the Nazi propaganda or the communist propaganda and the communist posters with the raised fist, that's some of the most, you know, memorable and strongest, powerful posters that we can think of. And yet, look what they were promoting. So, you know, the MAGA hat that the Trump supporters wear, that's an excellent piece of design, even though it looks really basic, but it's on purpose that it looks so basic, but it's also very iconic. And there was, you know, an exhibit in London, you know, a while back about, you know, political design, and the MAGA hat was partly there in the museum, and rightly so. So the point is that design can serve good and ideas that will, you know, bring prosperity and liberty and freedom and whatever we think is good. But it's only when we bring that message. And yes, design is very powerful, but you haven't really exercised that power until you have. So I don't know if many of the people in the audience know that I've spent 2 years studying in Cambridge International Relations, and because I am so interested in politics and all of that, and there is a very interesting quote by Hannah Arendt. She's an excellent theorist, German, and she mentions that power is ephemeral, and you can't really quantify it as it is until you have actually used it, and that is very important, because you might think you have power, but until you have exercised that power, until you have changed the mind or the thinking or the actions of someone who would not have done what you've made him do, you have not exercised your power. So one definition of power is the ability of actor A to make actor B do something actor B would not have otherwise done. And it could also be not just action, it could be also thinking and ideas. And so there's different forms of power, and we could talk a lot about that. But you haven't really exercised power until you've actually changed someone's behavior. So the reason I mention all of this is because a part of my education was to just like puff us up into like design is going to save the world and it's going to be amazing, and we are great because we're designers, and we're not. Because yes, we could potentially have that power to change things, to get people to do things they would not have otherwise done, but until we have exercised that, we have had no power yet. So I think it's a way for us to sort of pat ourselves on the shoulder and say, design is great, design is so powerful, and you know, sort of to feel good about who we are and our chosen careers and the value of what we do. But most of the time we're doing packaging for large corporations who barely pay any taxes and are one of the reasons why we have rising income inequality, you know. So I think it's important that we are able to exercise that power, and this is why it's important that we recognize that design is not good inherently, that we choose to be good. And this is where I thank again the 161 designers who worked on this project. They chose to support. This is the power, when you choose to do something, not that when we pat ourselves on the back. And this is not me judging people who didn't, you know, participate. I mean, people have
you know, we're all in the middle of a pandemic. Thank God people were able to support in any shape or form. But what I mean is that when we as designers are looking at all of the horrific things that are taking place, whether it is in politics or in public health or you know, the socioeconomic backgrounds that are, you know, decimating whole areas and neighborhoods, we need to be engaged. And this is where the question of design activism comes in. So I can talk more about that, but maybe I can see people coming in.
Yeah, they seem to be just agreeing with you, I think, the comments.
Okay, so let me, yes. So design started social phenomena in terms of transmitting knowledge and communication, but over time it's being used to self-promote wasteful projects. This is globalization, yes. Part of it, overconsumption, because we need to consume, because we need to grow the economy. That's part of it. Plastic, water bottles, packaging, etc. It comes down to choice of the designer. Also choice of the consumer. But yes, absolutely, yeah. Yes. And are we back to first things first manifesto? I mean, it would be easy to write manifestos, but I don't want that we write manifestos. I want that this becomes the norm. When you write a manifesto, it's because, you know, like we've talked a lot about this, and I want us that we get to a point where we just do things, you know, and we don't wait, you know, for people to come do things for us. And there's a, you know, like if you take, for example, the US elections, there's a lot of good design that has gone, you know, into that. But on my wish list, and I couldn't do that because one, I'm not American, and also I was busy with Li Beirut. So I couldn't, there's enough on my table. But we could work on, instead of just like motivational posters, we could try to explain people's rights via poster design. What are your rights when it comes to early voting? What are your rights when it comes to voter intimidation at the polls? What are your rights to where can you drop off? What is the deadline for mailing your vote? And each state has a different rule. And even till now, the changes are, you know, still ongoing. Like, and people saying, oh, if you haven't mailed it yet, don't mail it, go drop it in person. Where are the designers making sure these messages are out there? It's extremely important that we are able, not just, and this is where I don't like the term, but the virtue signaling aspect of design, that we make pretty looking things, but I want that we go down to functional things, because we are not just about awareness anymore. There needs to be a call to action. There needs to be more, you know, more work. I remember I was the keynote speaker at SOTA in 2016, just before the elections. And I spent a significant portion of the presentation talking about the Trump phenomena. And what's going on, and asking people to vote, and anyone, you know, who has a vote in the US, please, for God's sake, vote. But it's not just enough to vote. You need to get the vote out. You need to drive people to the polls. You need to do everything you can do to get it out, knock on doors, all of it. And again, as designers, do more and more to be able to support that. I think we have more from
there's a comment from Petra. I just wanted to say that nothing much changed, because the designers should be influencing policy design, working service design, explained through information design, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I found is that, and this is why I did the master's, it's because we as designers only speak the language of design, and then because we are handling the last bit of the project before it goes to the public, we think that we are integral to that project, but we are only the last step, and there's a lot more that happens before. And if we really want to influence how we are able to give the messages out, we need to be involved earlier on in the process, and we need to understand the issues better. So, like and it's not that we all can all go study international relations. I mean, not everyone can take the 2 years to do that. I understand. Not everyone is interested anyways. But one of the things that really surprised me during those 2 years, and this is the first time I'm speaking at a design conference post Cambridge, it's that I had lived through the Brexit referendum in the UK. And I had grown up in the Middle East, in the Lebanese civil war, and I'm quite familiar with the politics of the region. And I was also there during the Brexit referendum, and I was seeing what was going. But when I went to Cambridge and we were studying these topics and reading books about them and articles and what else, it turns out that me living during that period does not mean that I really understand what was happening and why. And that there is so much below the surface. There are words we don't even know. And it's very important to be able to understand, to know the words, to be able to really affect change. And to be powerful, we need to understand what power is. So one of the presentations I give these days is power and politics in Arabic type design, but almost half of it is about forms of power and what they are and how can we utilize them. And if I want to sum it up, the one which is most relevant to us is the ability to assign meaning to events and to support norms and to promote ideas. But the ability to assign meaning is absolutely important. And like, for example, when you have Russian interference in US elections, is this Russian interference or is this the Democrats, trying to invalidate Trump, right? These are competing narratives. And it's very important that the right narrative is the one that is understood to be the correct one. And so this is where design comes in as well. So there's a lot. I don't want to. So Rowana is Anne Besseman's adorable baby daughter, and she's asking if it's me who is speaking, and like, hi. This is cute. It's the first time one of my friends' children or child is able to watch. Anyways,
yeah, great. We get lots of pets and children watching. So
yeah, and the one is amazing.
Of this format. The organizers are suggesting we move to the Hangout room.
Yes,
but that's not the official recording that will end up on YouTube. Okay. So if you have, I'm going to let you. If you have any additional statements or closing statements. So for the record, and then we can go to the Hangout room and say the things that won't be recorded.
Okay, good. So so for the official wrap up, thank you to Tammy for the invitation again. Thank you to ATypI. Thank you to Simon for the moderation. Great to see you. And it feels more like ATypI when you're there. And also thank you to the 161 designers who supported the project. Thank you to everyone who donated. Thank you to everyone who supported in other ways the project. This is, it's, I mean, I said it in the presentation, but I was too emotional, I think, in it. But again, this just shows how beautiful our community can be. And we need to work to make it that way. And we need to work to keep it that way. So the same way with power is the same with the good and bad in people. We need to bring the best out of each other. And I think when we come together in projects like these, then it inspires us to be, the best versions of who we can be. And so thank you again for the opportunity to share a bit of the story. And let's move on to the Hangout now.
Well, thank you so much. It was inspiring as always. So if people don't know, you could click on the agenda and then you just click on the Hangout room and we'll head over there. Thank you, Nadine, and I hope we see you in person soon.
Yes.
Take care.